Okay guys, on today's episode of PDubs Arcade Loft, we are going to take a look at the surprise cabinet of the year, the Costco edition of the Super Pac-Man cabinet that nobody knew about, suddenly showed up, and we picked one up, just hit stores this week. Let's check it out. Arcade1Up did a great job recreating the artwork for Super Pac-Man on this Super Pac-Man edition cabinet. The control deck has a wonderful design to it. It is truly a nice looking product. And although the marquee is missing the original Bally Midway logo, probably due to licensing, the marquee itself is pretty standard, looks just like a Super Pac-Man marquee minus that one addition, and it looks pretty good. One small item to note, the artwork on the control deck does not line up with the artwork on the bezel. However, the bezel artwork itself, once you kind of pan around and take a look at it, the bezel artwork is really good here. I mean, who doesn't like Pac-Man? I mean, he's wearing a cape and booties for crying out loud. He is Super Pac-Man, and definitely this is a wonderful looking bezel from Arcade1Up. Again, looking at this cabinet from an artistic perspective, it is definitely a sharp and eye-popping cabinet, which would look good in your collection. I mean, who doesn't like superheroes? This cabinet is exclusively available at Costco, and it does come with a riser, the Super Pac-Man riser. The front artwork on the front riser panel looks fantastic, and this is a huge improvement for Arcade1Up, actually having a colored kick plate with the game titles and some bonus Super Pac-Man artwork on there. Big improvement. When you take a look at the side panels of your riser, here's where the color scheme kind of changes a bit. They go with a dominant yellow riser panel versus the darker blue of the rest of the cabinet. And of course, it does make it pop. It does give it a little bit of, I don't know, difference. Looking at the artwork on the sides, as you can see, it mimics the front riser and of course the original cabinet design. Unfortunately, we do not have those cut out Pac-Man mouth shaped side panels. Although we didn't get the cutout design of the original Super Pac-Man cabinet, the actual shape of the side panels does match your Pac-Man 40th cabinet, as well as it will match the upcoming Miss Pac-Man cabinet, so your Pac-Man cabinets should all match lined up. Minus the custom artwork on this cabinet, another feature that is exclusive to this particular bundle is you do get an included LED light strip package to light up the back of your arcade cabinet. It only lights up in one color, just blue, and as you can see, this is how you have it mounted correctly. And it is a super bright light. It will definitely light up your wall if you have this hooked up on the back of the machine and have this placed in your arcade room. Now, taking a look at this marquee once it's lit up, the Pac-Man marquees are notorious for being, fairly plain. Obviously, the only thing we're missing on here is that Bally Midway logo, probably not on there due to licensing, but it lights up the way it should, and it looks good. Taking a look at the controls included in this thing, these buttons that they're using are the same real feel arcade buttons that we've seen in the last generation of Arcade1Up cabinets. Really no difference to them. When it comes to the joystick, this nice 4-way joystick is a pretty good Sanwa clone. It plays actually pretty well. Might just need a spring added in there, but overall, I love the feel of it. It's very responsive, it's very clicky, and of course, we do have our volume slider as well. What is nice about this cabinet is they have fixed the volume issue that we saw on the 40th Pac-Man Cabaret cabinet. You can actually crank this thing up from 0 to 15 and have an enjoyable experience no matter what volume you set it at, compared to the Pac-Man Cabaret 40th, where any volume over 3 was just too dang loud and you really couldn't play the cabinet above that particular volume level. So overall, the speakers on this thing, it does come with 2 speakers. Sounds pretty darn good. This does come with 7 games, just like the Pac-Man 40th Wood Grain Edition. However, they did take out Pac-Man Plus and Pac-and-Pal and replace those games with Galaxian and Dig Dug, and if you ask me, this 7-game lineup is much stronger. This is a much better lineup compared to the Pac-Man 40th Wood Grain Edition. Also, instead of having multiple pages or a multiple scrolling user interface, we just have all of the games on one single page. I actually preferred having the different pages. It felt more interactive and all that stuff versus having a list of games. Taking a look here, we still have those black borders towards the top and bottom of the screen due to whatever filtering and smoothing effect they have put on here. I thought at first glance when I was playing on this that we had seen an improvement in the visuals. However, when I compare, for instance, this image versus what it looks like on the Pac-Man 40th wood grain edition, it's definitely the same filtering and all that kind of stuff. So the image itself, I thought at first, was improved, but in fact, it looks exactly the same on the wood grain Pac-Man 40th as it does here. When you take a look at the gameplay on the 7 games, despite the smoothing effect that they've put on these cabinets, which honestly they look better in person than they do on camera since we can't capture the screen on these devices. Overall, the visuals and the gameplay for the majority of games is more than acceptable, including Super Pac-Man. And of course, Pacmania, one of my personal favorites. Absolutely love this game. So bright, so colorful, so fun. And who doesn't love jumping over ghosts? Taking a look at Pac-Land, they did map, we do have our super speed buttons as well as our jump button mapped correctly on the control deck. And of course, Pac-Land, as you guys remember on the Pac-Man 40th cabinet, it's more of a horizontal game on a very small, maybe about 12-inch playfield that you get to play on a vertical screen. However, it does fit in with the game lineups, and of course, it's a fun game to play. I mean, it's Pac-Land. Dig Dug is interesting because I figured they would map the pump to both of the red action buttons. I really thought they would map pump on both sides, because we have seen that in the past, although I always traditionally play with the right-hand pump when I've been playing Dig Dug throughout my whole life, if there was a right-hand button. And don't mind the glare on the screen, that is from my camera, but the game itself looks beautiful on this 3/4 scale arcade as well as on this monitor. I believe this is the first time we've officially had Dig Dug from Arcade1Up on a 3/4 scale cabinet. I think it's been on some cocktail tables and some countercades, but this is the first time it's actually on a cabinet. What's interesting about Dig Dug here is if you are an uber Dig Dug fan and you've been waiting forever for Arcade1Up to release a 3/4 scale Dig Dug cabinet, now could be your chance to maybe, I don't know, get this cabinet, maybe reskin it and remarquee it as a Dig Dug cabinet, and you can do that if you're a Dig Dug fan. Now, when it comes to Galaga and Galaxian, we definitely have some concerns here with the controls. As you can see here under Galaxian, the fire button has been mapped to the left action button versus the more traditional right action button that we've seen in the past. Every arcade, every console system, any controller I've ever used to play Galaxian, the fire button has always been to the right of the joystick. However, on this particular cabinet, for some reasons unknown, the developers who developed this in partnership with Arcade1Up, I mean, they put it on the left, and it's definitely a strain on your muscle memory to try and figure out, okay, I've been playing this game one way for 30 years, now I got to try and move the joystick with my right hand, as well as press the fire button with the left. I've done this now about 20 times in the last 24 hours, trying to get used to it. And just like any other game, you can kind of get used to it, but it's so aggravating because this is not the way this game was designed. It should not have been set up this way, in my opinion. And of course, what I've noticed is if I'm using the joystick with my right hand and hitting that fire button, I'm more likely to accidentally twist that ball top counterclockwise and loosen that ball top right there. I have to tighten the ball top constantly while I'm playing. Versus if I'm gripping the ball with my left hand, I'm more likely to be twisting the ball top in a clockwise fashion, keeping it tight as we play. But when you play with your right hand, you keep loosening the ball top. Just another reason this needs to be fixed, and that fire button needs to be put on the right side. And it's not just Galaxian, but it's also Galaga. You'll notice in the menu they have programmed and designed this game to have the fire button on the left-hand side. Galaga has been around for decades upon decades. People have played it on consoles, people have played it on arcades. I really feel that the majority of people who purchase this cabinet have played Galaga at some point in their life. And those folks are immediately going to wonder, why am I pushing that left button and instead of the right button in order to fire? And because in fact on the Pac-Man 40th cabinet, the wood grain edition, the fire button is on the right. as well as all the other Arcade1Up cabinets that have come out that have had Galaga on there in some form factor. The fire button is always on the right. But on these cabinets, or I'm sorry, on this particular cabinet, they have fiddled with that, and of course there's no way to change it in the menu, and there's no way to fix it on our end without doing either moving your joystick, which involves drilling new holes into the bottom of the control deck. You could move your joystick, you could possibly rewire. Either way, this should not have happened. It should not be set up this way. I think this is a huge fail on Arcade1Up to let this product be released without the standard button positioning and controls for Galaga as well as Galaxian. It definitely just hampers the experience. Now, from what we've seen since this was discovered and reported on the Facebook fan pages, we have heard that Arcade1Up is looking into this, and there might be a possible solution coming down the road. But what will that be? Will they let us use that micro USB port to put in some kind of patch and flash and get this fixed? Or are they going to send out new PCB boards? My thoughts are leaning towards Arcade1Up. You need to send us out new PCB boards to fix this problem ASAP. You know, considering I had given the Wood Grain Pac-Man edition a 6 out of 10, I was really excited about this Super Pac-Man because it had a much better lineup of games, the sound system has been fixed, and of course, we have two games that out of the box, and this is, you know, we have to review these products. How does it come out of the box? Yes, everyone can simply say, you can just mod it. But guys, out of the box for the general fan is what these reviews are all about. And out of the box, we shouldn't have these issues with these games. These games should be set up and designed to play just like they were originally in the arcade, especially if your company is named Arcade1Up. I would definitely be much happier with this cabinet. Heck, I think I might give it a 9 out of 10 if it wasn't for the mess up on the controls. Due to the mess up on controls, I'm going to have to give this an 8 out of 10, and only because Arcade1Up, I've actually spoken with David McIntosh, and he has said that they are working on a fix, plus John D made a post on Facebook, they're working on a fix. If they fix it, then this cabinet is a definite 8 out of 10, possibly a 9 out of 10. But if they don't do anything about this, and it's, you know, hey, the user is on his own, well, guess what, guys? Then this is going to receive a much lower score. I'm going to hang on to the cabinet for now, and I'm eagerly awaiting to see what Arcade1Up is going to announce and do for anyone who purchases this cabinet from Costco. Now, some of you who are left-handers, you might actually enjoy having these buttons flip-flopped and all that kind of stuff. I'm left-handed as well, but I've been playing games for 30-some years, guys, and I've always played with my left hand on the joystick, right hand on buttons. So for me, this is very difficult, and I'm sure it will be difficult for others as well. Arcade1Up, you know what to do. Let's get that fix in. And folks, I would recommend purchasing this cabinet if Arcade1Up announces there will be a fix. Give this one a solid 8 out of 10. As always, guys, I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for hanging out upstairs with us. This definitely is a beautiful cabinet. I definitely prefer this one over the Wood Grain Pac-Man 40th. Better games, better lineup of games, and also I just personally love the artwork. Although artwork when it comes to arcade cabinets is going to be to each his own. Do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on your way out. And as always, thank you for hanging out upstairs with us.